Today we're going to be doing another Reddit reply. We're going to be talking about advanced deck building. There's some rule stuff, I believe, that people have asked. People asking how do you play the game, etc., etc. And we're going to go over all of that real soon. But before we do, I want to show you one thing really quick. For those that don't know, I have a Patreon account. This is what it looks like if you were coming to it for the very first time, and you can now join for free. You get basically one post a month at this point. It's not a ton, but it's a little bit of updates. I want to do some other things with Patreon for the free and for the paid for community. So there's gonna be other stuff coming. I think I'm gonna start doing some exclusive videos on there. I don't know what, but something probably small, something very small, but we're gonna be doing something on there anyway. But yeah, you can join for free and check it out, get a feel for it and what's not. And then if you want to upgrade your membership later on, you could join one of these tiers, or if you really hate money, join this tier. I don't know why anyone would. I thought it was funny, and Patreon said do it, you won't, so I did. So anyway, the link for this is all down below. Make sure to go check it out. All right, the first question we have is about advanced deck building. Really quick note with this: I don't consider myself that good of a deck builder in general. Like, I think I'm okay at best. I think I'm pretty good, but like compared to people that are like elite deck builders, like I'm not on their level by any stretch of the imagination. So, take what I say with a grain of salt with this. But normally I just pick cards that work well with my heroes. A lot of the time my deck looks like a pre-con deck if I pick the same aspect with that hero that I came with. So I'm wondering if the next level would be to place consideration on the cost and type of cards, my current builds, and play tends to focus on higher cost events that do a lot more immediately, supports, upgrades, so on and so forth. So in your deck building, do you consider the cost and type of cards you have an optimal quantity of types of cards? Am I thinking about this too much? I don't know if to think about it too much or I think about things too little, but generally speaking, there are certain traits your hero has or a special ability that your hero has, and I want to play off of that ability, right? So let's take, for example, Domino, right? With the wild resource. I want as many wild resources in there as possible, right? Realistically, that's what I would like to have, because they count twice on the cards when I'm flipping over the top card. So for me, that's a card that's a way I would approach that deck a lot. Then if I wanted to start focusing more on, let's say allies to help block her because we need them. Well, I would figure out, do I want cheap allies? Do I want expensive allies? Do I want wild resource allies? Whatever from that. I just start putting them in. And I've talked about this in the past of how I approach deck building is I just go in with a rough idea of what I think I want to do. And then I try it, right? I play a game and I try it, and usually it fails miserably. But I take note of what cards worked and what cards didn't work. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, what does that mean? How do you know what works, what doesn't work? Quite simply, what did you play and what did you not play? What did you get in your hand each time you went, ugh, I can't believe this card is in my hand right now. This is completely useless. I can't think of a situation. If you're getting that with a card like a couple times, move on from that card. Get that card out of your deck. Trim that out, and then think about what you wish you would have had. Man, it would have been really nice to be able to stun more minions. It would have been nice to handle a threat on side schemes. Stuff like that. Think about what would have helped you out, and then put those cards in. So that's my best advice for deck building. Like I said, I'm not the best. I know a lot of people can theorize this stuff and like picture it without actually playing. I'm the type of person that needs to play. I feel like it's like the easier way to do things, not the efficient way of doing things. So feel free to give that a try, but that's how I approach deck building. But you can also, a lot of people say too, they go to marvelcdb.com and they pick a deck that they like, start with that, and then they just kind of tweak the deck to their playstyle, because everyone has kind of their own unique playstyle for the most part. Quick rules question about Psylocke and her interrupt on her hero side. I have to flip a dagger katana before the attack, thwart, heal concludes, right? So if I attack with 2 katanas, I flip one of the dagger, making Psylocke attack 2 instead of 3. So if I want to attack for 3, you need to spend 1 resource, optionally flip it. Spend 1 resource, optionally flip it, and then when you use the basic action, use the interrupt to flip it again, so they're both aligned. It's not forced. Right, so this is a key thing to note, that the interrupt is not forced. You don't have to do anything in the game unless it's forced, right? That's just an important note. It's not like the other way around where like if it says to do something, you have to do it. Or I'm sorry, like if it says like just like interrupt, it doesn't mean like you have to force. You don't, like the card won't say like optionally interrupt, right? Like it will say like forced interrupt. So if it's forced, you have to do it. On the katanas and the dagger, it's not forced, or I'm sorry, not on that. Well, on that side too, but on your hero, it states that it's just an interrupt, not forced. So this is actually really good to know that if you're trying to get, your katana dagger aligned certain ways, especially with using certain resources. It's a way to like attack or thwart with your hero first to get them flipped over to the resources that you do need, because maybe they're a mental resource or a physical resource or whatever. But more importantly, it's not forced. It's you can optionally flip it over if you attack and thwart. So just double check that. How do you play the game? I play one card at a time. It's usually the best way to do it. Think through each turn, just playing one thing at a time. Not a rules question, promise. I'm super curious how folks physically indulge their playing of the game. I'm assuming dining table solo play is fairly common. Half that sentence is true. But do many folks meet up with friends or family? Friends to play often? Maybe go to their LGS. Wish I had that too. To see if any strangers fancy a pickup game. Does that ever happen? I especially love to know if anyone transitioned out of solo play into group play without just hounding people they knew into joining in. So for me personally, the way I play, probably almost half the time, a quarter to half the time is here on stream. So if you haven't joined over on twitch.tv/do20 woodworking, where we sometimes play this game live, you should do that, right? You should definitely join that community. It's a lot of fun. It's a good time and all that fun stuff. But generally speaking, down here is how I play. And randomly, I'll take a folding table and put it up in our living room, because we'll watch, like my wife and I will watch like sports or a TV show or something, and like I kind of care about, but kind of don't care about it. So I'll set up a folding table and just pop a mat down and play. I don't. I've played this game multiplayer quite a few times, either on stream with Nelson all over. I played with a few friends that introduced the game to, and I don't play a ton of multiplayer. For those that know me, I play mostly solo, so I've never really transitioned out of it, nor do I think I really want to. I don't mind multiplayer game. I really like playing this game solo, so there's no real reason for me to. But I guess you would start with your gaming group and see if it's something you can get into a regular rotation. Be my hope. But there are online communities. I know that there are discords, and I think even the subreddit has ways for people to kind of like play online together, either tabletop simulator or through Zoom or something like that. And if that interests you, definitely check out and like make a post, or if you want to do it on this YouTube community page or something, I don't know, or my Discord, feel free to. Like that's cool if you want to try to figure out who to play with. Organization. Hi guys, I was wondering if you had any suggestion on organizing stuff you use from Amazon or other. How do you guys keep your game organized even with multiple expansions? I use white BCW boxes. They look like shoe boxes with a giant uh it's not plastic, a cardboard divider in the middle, so I have like two rows. Now I do want to get, I think the Game Genix makes like a big like dungeon layer or game layer, or I don't know what they call it, card layer. They make a giant box and it looks like a very nice box. So I wanted to get something like that. I know there's really fancy wooden boxes out there from like Dream something. I don't remember the company's name. Like $100 that I always thought looked cool, but then you would need multiple boxes because the game keeps growing, and I store everything in Dragon Shield sleeves, which takes up more space, which is important to note. Like how much you sleeve your game matters, or what sleeves you use for your game matters. I know some people store it in binders and stuff like that. I can't do any of that stuff, but for me, just those shoe boxes work. I do want to get a bigger either shoebox or a Game Genic box. People seem to really like Game Genic stuff, and I think I'm going to take the dive into that at some point. But that's how I do it. And as far as like tokens, I know they're not probably asking about tokens, but a tackle box, right? Just a Plano tackle box, like Plano tackle box. They make easy enough stuff, and you can just put all the tokens in there. And I have a bunch of them now. I have like 7 of those boxes, but that's for like all the tokens of all of my games and stuff like that. And then for the player mat, I literally just roll it up and shove it in my closet. I should probably figure out a better system for that, but we'll get there in due time. Next one is Attack on the Mansion. What if your main villain is Pyro and you draw Pyro as a minion? Redraw? There can't be a double character in play at the same time, right? So this would actually fall under the unique ruling, and we have it pulled up here. This is the current rule set of 1.5. That's what it is. Yes. Page 37, unique icon. Go down here to where it says, hopefully my head's not too far on the way. Additionally, make that bigger. Additionally, some minions may have the same title as other friendly or enemy characters. If a unique minion is revealed from the encounter deck and attempts to enter play while another unique character of the same title is already in play, the player is revealing that minion discards it, then reveals a new card from the encounter deck, right? So that's what that would fall under that ruling. So that's what would happen. Now, there is a card in the Mansion Attacks deck, the Save the School card, which is like the permanent environment card that's out there. Or I think it's environment. With a permanent card that's out there on the side that states that if there's already a minion in play and the villain comes into play with the same name, it would actually get rid of the villain and or get rid of the minion and the villain would activate against you. So just make sure you read that card for that. But I know they're asking the other way around, but just in case people are wondering the other way around of that, that's what would happen. Groot deck for true solo standard Guardians Most Wanted campaign. Hi everyone, I just got Guardians Most Wanted campaign. I've heard that at least the last mission of the campaign is insanely hard. I have the core game plus Guardians Most Wanted plus Red Skull expansions and Venom hero set. With these card sets, is there a viable deck to play Guardians Most Wanted true solo with Groot on standard difficulty? Thanks for help. There's actually this he's kind of a small YouTuber, and you know he needs as much help as he can get. But there is this guy that makes a playlist for this, and his the 20 woodworking. I think he's German. So he has a whole thing of how he plays certain heroes, and one of the ones that he has done about a month ago was how he plays Groot, and it won't perfectly answer this question, but it will kind of give you the rough idea. I believe this person is really big into Justice Groot, if I remember correctly, and they really like Justice Groot. They might say things like Justice Groot is OP Groot. I don't really know, but you can watch that video. As you can see, I didn't even like finish watching this video because he talks too much sometimes. But you can check out that video and how they play. For me personally, I kind of mirror his beliefs as well of I like Justice, and with those cards, there's enough there that you can just figure out a way to make sure to save your growth counters. Don't try to just like expend them and use them all like, you know, or don't use them as defense, right? Use them so you can do the big thwarts and the big attacks and whatever. And you'll be able to do it with Groot. Most likely with those cards. I feel like there's a few cards that come in other Guardian packs that this individual will probably need, but you could probably still make it work. But anyway, I just want to give a shout out to this YouTuber, the 20. But hopefully they start doing more of these how I play videos because they're pretty good, but he kind of fell off, so I don't know if he's doing any more anymore. Domo Luck Be a Lady with Jackpot. Does this work like I think it does? If you discard Jackpot as part of Luck Be a Lady, you heal 4, remove 4 threat, and deal 3 damage. They're counting it twice, and I don't know why. Wilds are the only thing that count twice. It's not a wild card. It's just one of each resource. But it would work as all 3 of those things, just not double, right? So you heal 2, remove 2 threat, deal 3 damage. That's how that would work. Go to hero deck for new villains. A preamble to this post is I don't have the whole collection, so I keep getting new stuff to play and try for the first time. I also know that not every deck can cover every villain. However, I feel like if a new box of scenario pack comes out, have a go at a hero deck and try diving in before the wave proper. That being said, is what hero or deck is your go-to for trying a new villain? I actually like this question because it's kind of like a twist on the usual question we have is like, you know, what villain do you play against a new hero? This is really the other way around. The person like Doctor Strange, if I just want to see the mechanics all the way through to a win, it's not surprised I can take him with whatever build and yada yada. So the way I approach boxes is whatever the new heroes are in the box, I pick one that interests me and I play it a few times against a villain like Claw that I know pretty well and that's pretty well balanced and can handle all right. And then maybe try Claw Expert, and then I will dive into the villain box with one of those heroes. I like using the hero. I don't know if Fantasy Flight Games does this, but I assume they kind of do to a point, is that they do have like the heroes kind of paired with the villains, right? Like the idea is like these heroes should be able to take on the villains roughly, right? Maybe not like easily, maybe not like efficiently, but they should work somewhat well together. So I like the idea of trying that out first. So that's how I approach it. Now I don't know if that's true, if that's how they handle things or not. Probably not. But anyway, that's in my mind how I picture things. So that's how I like to do it. I like to figure out one of the heroes, at least, maybe both, but definitely one of them, and then run through usually the campaign I like doing, and then going back and playing the individual villain scenarios after the fact. And then I'll mess around with like expert and all that stuff. Vision Shadowcat form question. Quick question about those two heroes and their forms. Does changing from one side to another on their permanent upgrade consider changing form for cards like Surprise Attack or Ready Rumble? It does. So Vision, it goes from like what, mass form to dense form, or dense form to phase form, whatever it is. He goes to 2 different forms. So you are changing form. And then same with Shadowcat, right? No, she's mass form and whatever. It doesn't matter. When you flip the card, you're changing form. That's what you're doing, right? Like, think of it like try like picture the actual game like if it was like really happening, and that she is going from phased to mass form, or and Vision's doing the same from dense to whatever form, right? Like you are changing form. So it does work like that, and Ready to Rumble and all that stuff will work. It's the same with like Ant-Man and Wasp. I know most people know this, but just in case you don't, if you go from like big Ant-Man to little Ant-Man, like you're changing your form. You're a different form now. So those cards would also activate. Next one is Collector 2 is so much fun, question mark, exclamation point. Continuing facing every villain on Expert today, and just faced the Collector 2 with Spider-Man, and man, was it a blast. It felt so thematic, looking for the Milano, getting it, and wounding the Collector to remove threat from the scheme of catching you. I'm not close to facing every villain in the game yet, but this was definitely the funnest so far. I've heard a lot of bad things about Collector 1, which I mostly agree with, but I don't see Collector 2 ever mentioned as being super fun. So I do think Collector 2 was guilty by association, right? So again, back in the day, dating myself, back in the day, all we had was the Rise of Red Skull box and the core box, which we all played to death at this point. Guardians Most Wanted came out. There was so much hype around that box because Guardians was like the biggest thing in the world right then. Like I think the second movie just recently came out. Like maybe the second movie already been out, but it doesn't matter. The movies were still coming out and whatnot. It was a big time. I remember because I think they announced Guardians Most Wanted at Gen Con when it was done online during the pandemic, or I was just online and not learning more about Gen Con. I don't know. They did reveals online for it. That's all I remember. It was like a big thing. It was all over social media. People were so hyped for the Guardians Most Wanted. It was like I think people kind of forget like and a lot of people get swept up in the X-Men like hype and whatever, but like the Guardians hype was like real. Like it was huge at the time. People were really hyped for it. So anyway, long story short, I think a lot of people's disappointment came when there were two collectors, right? We only had 8 villains already, 9 villains, 9-ish, 10-ish villains at that point, and we wanted a lot more. So the game was about to increase its villain count by about 50%, right? If it had 10, it was adding 5 more, about 50%. And of those 5, there were 2 of the same villain, essentially, right? Collector 1 and Collector 2. And it wasn't even like a really well-known name at the time. Like, okay, the Collector, like, yeah, they kind of appear in the movies, like, okay, kind of cool, whatever. And Collector 1 was so incredibly bad that Collector 2 just like got a part of that, right? Like, the people just were like, oh my god, I don't want to go through this again. And it really is a different, like, a whole different setup. It's a whole different thing. Like, it is a really fun scenario. It is a well done scenario, Collector 2, and I think people appreciate a lot more nowadays. But I do think it was guilty by association back in the day. I know I was guilty of it. Like, I hated Collector 1. I was like, I don't even want to look at Collector 2. Like, I was so sick and tired of it. I was so upset with it. So I was just like, whatever. And then that whole box, just in general, people were so just kind of upset with the box that I think a lot of people just kind of wrote most of the box off, unfortunately. And we really shouldn't have. But at the time, I guess it kind of made sense. All right, this person's asking for buying help. 1 month ago, I bought the Marvel Champions core set, which is awesome. I have a lot of fun with it, but I want to have my favorite character, Venom. Should I buy Venom Flash Thompson and Sinister Motor's Venom villain, bypassing Rise of Red Skull? Can I do this without any troubles? Yeah, so you can get whatever you want. That's kind of the great thing about this game, is that if you just want certain heroes and just want to play the core box villains, you can do that. If you just want to play the core box heroes and just buy the big boxes for the villains, you can do that, right? All that makes sense. I will say that generally speaking, within a wave, there are cards that build off of each other, right? And I do think Guardians Most Wanted is the most obvious of this. Is that Groot and Rocket from just the Guardians Most Wanted box was a bit weak and weren't that great. But as more cards came out from that cycle that like helped the Guardian aspect, or the Guardian keyword, sorry, trait, it started doing really well, right? Like Guardian was much better. Like I still think people today think nowadays that like Guardians aren't that good, and they really are. Like as a whole, if you have all the Guardian cards, it's a really well done trait and keyword and whatnot. But you do need all the cards for it. Now with Venom, the difference with Venom is very good by himself, like just in general. Like his pre-con deck is very good. Because of how his system works, it's very enclosed, right? Because it's just you on a very basic level, you're just trying to get his guns and then just use them and use his cards, and that's it. So you don't have to worry about Guardian keyword cards as much, but it would be beneficial to get the other Guardian keywords as well. But regardless, you could still play Venom. You could still do well with Venom, skipping over like Rise of Red Skull and whatever. I still think you should get Rise of Red Skull, but you can skip over all of it, sure. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's Reddit reply. Really quick before you go, this Sunday I will be live. We're probably gonna do some Marvel Champions, I think. But more importantly, do me a favor. Come to the live stream. It'll be, like I said, over on Twitch, or it'll be over here on YouTube, and bring some ideas of games that are currently out on GameFound or Kickstarter that you would like to talk about. I would like to talk about them as well and go through them. And you can become a part of a YouTube video, which would be really cool because I know people really want to do that for some reason. But no, there are a lot of people out there that want to get more news source information of like what Kickstarter games are coming out, what GameFound games are coming out, and they've kind of learned my style of what I like and what I don't like, especially from a solo perspective, and they want my opinion on these things. And if that's what you all want, that's what you all shall get. Because I've had many people ask about me doing videos covering Kickstarters or games soon to come out, stuff like that. So I want to start doing that. But like any good content creator, I want to offshore all the work onto my viewership. And so I want you to come with your ideas of what I should look through and what I should talk about. And I'll do some work too, I guess. But yeah, just come with your ideas. Come this Sunday, 8:15 Eastern Time PM to the live stream. So if you made it this far in the video, do me a huge favor. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps out. Like I said, check out the Patreon link down below. I don't know why I pointed this way. Patreon's not that way. It's down there, but that's okay. Regardless, it's been a long day, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time.